Hi there, my name is Amelia and I'm the owner of Darlene Agnes Patterns. Today we will be going over the ANDEE hoodie, as this is a long-awaited video. For those of you who have been following and have the ANDEE hoodie, I've put timestamps down below so that you can skip to the section that you need, say the hood or the sleeves. And I hope that helps, and I'm sorry that this video has been taking me quite a while. I had a kid in this time frame of starting this business, and having your first kid, if there's any moms out there, it's taking a lot of time. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it.
Some things you will need for the ANDEE hoodie pattern are your quilt, some pins, your thread of choice, and some really sharp scissors, as well as some tape and your pattern. If you want to do the bishop sleeve at the end, you'll need some pins and elastic as well. Assembling the pattern. So as you can see on the first page, it says to not overlap the pages, just line them up edge to edge and tape them together. The reason why I do this is because I believe that it makes the pattern assembly process a bit faster. And when you're printing these out, some people have had some problems with there being too big of a gap. When you're printing it out, make sure you're printing on A4 paper if it's an A4 pattern, or letter paper if it is a letter pattern. And letter paper is just the basic US standard 8.5 by 11 inches. So that's mostly what everybody has in their household. Just make sure you're printing it out like this, or there will be a bigger gap and there will be more room to each part of the pattern itself. Once you're done with that, you're ready to begin. Cutting out your quilt. Start by folding your quilt over and placing your paper pattern on top of that. I like to just freehand cut this, as I've done it a couple of times, but to make it easier, pin your paper pattern down to the fabric itself. As for the things that say on fold, make sure you're placing that line on the fold and cutting it out. Now to begin sewing, and we're going to start off with the hood.
Okay, so I made a mistake. I didn't film the trimming of the front part of your hood so that it doesn't cross over in the front. A lot of people on Etsy and TikTok and Instagram have commented that they don't want it crossing over in the front. The original pattern does cross over about an inch in the front. You just overlap it when you sew it around the top part of the hood. But for now, I'm going to show you here. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your pattern and you're going to either pull it back a little if you want it to cross over more than an inch in the front, or you're going to push it past the seam of your fabric that you're cutting on in order to take about an inch or an inch and a half. I wouldn't go any more than that, but you're going to pull that over and then trim around the hood so that you're cutting off a certain section of your thing. And then also to note, if you do cut it on the edge of your quilt, it'll look like this and it'll be clean already, saving you some time. So that noted, let's get back into the pattern.
Start by placing your hood pieces right sides together and sewing down this curve. You're going to zigzag stitch the edge if you just have a sewing machine, or serge if you have a serger, and then straight stitch next to it.
So once you're done with that, this is what it looks like. It has a serged edge to clean up and then a straight stitch right next to it. And the final step for the hood, before we put it to the side, is getting rid of this raw edge. So in the instructions, you'll see that it says you can put binding around this edge if you want, or you can zigzag stitch the edge or serge the edge and then just fold it in with a straight stitch. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to serge the edge and fold it in with a straight stitch to make it have a clean front part of the hood, which will look like this once it's done. Once you have your hood where you want it, put that to the side. Now for the body. You're going to take your back piece and you're going to lay it right sides up, and you're going to take your front piece and lay that right sides down. You're then going to either zigzag stitch or serge these top shoulders and then do a straight stitch next to that serge or zigzag stitch.
And this is what that looks like. The straight stitch is a little bit away from the zigzag stitch or serge stitch. You'll be using the same sewing combination throughout this entire pattern, as well as the sleeves, which we're moving to now.
To start the sleeve off, open it up and look at the end of your sleeve where it's going to go around your wrist. You're going to either, if you just have a sewing machine, just zigzag stitch the edge so that the raw edge is gone, or if you have a serger, serge that edge.
After you have finished that, take your body that you have just sewn the shoulders of and lay it right side facing up. Then you're going to take your sleeve and place it right side facing down. Fold the sleeve in half to find the midpoint of the sleeve and place that on the shoulder seam. Pin the sleeve down all the way around. You're going to have to kind of stretch and bend it in order to get it to sit right. And then you're going to zigzag stitch the edge and straight stitch, or serge and straight stitch. Make sure you back stitch your straight stitch as you're going along this pattern, as that is the stabilizing stitch. Once you're done, remove all the pins, and this is what it'll look like from the outside, and this is what the sleeve will look like from the inside. Then fold this in half, and it's going to create like an L shape. You're going to be sewing that L shape starting at the end of the sleeve with your zigzag stitch and straight stitch, or serge and straight stitch.
When you're done with your sleeves, this is what it should look like from the inside, and this is what it should look like from the outside. All connected. And now we're gonna move on to the hood.
The hood has been a hard one for the people in my Etsy comments, so let's get into that. Start by folding the back of the body in half and finding that midpoint, and then taking the hood midpoint and placing that on that. Make sure the hood and the body are right sides together and pin all the way around.
Once your hood is all pinned down, if you chose to have this crossover in the front, you're gonna skip this spot. But if you chose to have an open section here, you're gonna wanna zigzag stitch or serge this section and serge all the way around. Just make sure that this section is serged as well, because it's gonna have this raw edge that needs to be folded over and sewn down at the end. So once you got your hood attached with your serge and straight stitch, or zigzag stitch and straight stitch, it's gonna look like this, depending on if you had the crossover or not. And as you can see, this part is showing with the serge stitch. So we're going to take that and fold the seam over like this. It's gonna look like this on the inside. I'll show you on the counter here. And as you can see, this little seam here is just gonna fold down, creating this down fold little 1/2 inch right in the front to create a clean seam right here.
Once you're done, this is what it will look like, and you're ready to move on to the bishop sleeve.
If you want to do the bishop sleeve, you're going to take your jacket and you're going to inside it out. Once your jacket's inside out, you're going to take your sleeve and roll up 1 inch. For this section here, make sure you measure it on your arm, and I suggest this for any pattern. Make sure you're measuring the arm, because you never know who they were basing it off of, so make sure that you measure that. I'm gonna roll this up about 1 inch, and I'm going to sew a straight stitch all the way along the edge, leaving a whole room so that I can weave some elastic through.
I know that not all sewing machines have this, but some have a little base that you can slip off and allows your sleeve to slip underneath as well as on top for an easier sew. So do that if you have that.
Once you're done sewing that straight stitch, make sure you left that hole so that you can weave your elastic through. Take your elastic, if I can find the end of this, and measure on your arm how much you want to be pulled in. I don't like it terribly tight, so I just do this, and make sure you have enough to overlap because you're going to be sewing this section. So cut right about there so it's overlapping and it can still fit on your wrist while stretching and having some room. The next step is going to be taking your elastic and weaving it through. I take 2 pieces of the safety pins and I put them on either end. One of them is going to be pinned to the outside, and the other one you're going to use for weaving inside that hole. So stick it in the hole and just pull it all the way through until you're at the end.
Once the safety pin is out the other end, you can go ahead and take both of those off and make sure that the elastic stays the same way when you put it together. You're going to overlap the edges and do a zigzag stitch. I would suggest doing a zigzag stitch back and forth over this section right here as you want it to stay. And then once that's done, it'll just slip back inside. As you can see right here, it's just slipped back in. You're gonna sew up that hole and your bishop sleeve is done. I hope you enjoyed making this hoodie. As I said, I will link the pattern down below. Please leave any questions that you have, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.